Hello and welcome back to the Palancar podcast, where we are diving into Christopher Paolini's inheritance cycle, starting with the first book, Eragon. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the fifth chapter, Awakening. Last chapter, we came back from Carvajal after Eragon went and spoke with his uncle Garo and the traders to determine whether or not the stone had any kind of value that he found when he was hunting in the Spine. After the traders did, or after Murtlock did some tests on the stone, he determined that he wasn't really sure what it was. Eragon came home and decided he was going to run some of his own tests. Went to sleep that night and woke up, and the stone turned out to be a dragon egg, and out pops a dragon. So this chapter is going to take up from where we left off for the last chapter. And the description of the dragon is: the dragon was no longer than his forearm, yet it was dignified and noble. Its scales were a deep sapphire blue and the same color as the stone, but not a stone, he realized. It was an egg. The dragon fanned its wings out. They were what had made it appear so contorted. The wings were several times larger than its body, and ribbed with thin fingers of bone that extended from the wing's front edge, forming a line of widely spaced talons. So he's looking at this dragon as it's kind of sitting in the moonlight, sitting on its bed, and he's wondering, like, okay, what the heck is going on? Like, he's just kind of in shock, right? And as he's looking at it, he kind of smiles, and he's like, wow, like, this is awesome. Like, if I have a dragon and if I raise a dragon, I could become a rider, and that would automatically put me in, like, in legends. Like, I would be stories would be told about me, and I would go down in history. And he's pretty excited about that. And tentatively, he reaches out to the dragon to touch it. And as he touches the dragon, like a bolt of electricity runs through his body from where he touches it, and it basically paralyzes him. It shocks his body, and it puts him on the ground, and he has no idea what the heck just happened. He wants to scream, but he basically is just unable to. He is, like I said, he's paralyzed. He doesn't understand what happened. Eragon blinked, trying to understand what just occurred, and something brushed against his consciousness, like a finger trailing over his skin. So this is something that is kind of foreign and alien sounding, something that's brushing against his own mind that he hasn't encountered before. And it was a tendril of thought, and he could feel a growing curiosity coming from it. And he was unable to, as he was feeling this touch, he had this overwhelming sense of nothingness around him. It was like his mind was just open to everything that was around him. It was like his consciousness was exposed, and there was nothing holding him there, and he was worried that his soul was just going to drift off. And the only thing that was tethering him to the ground was the tendril of thought that was connecting him to what he assumed was the dragon. And as he was sitting there, he lost my place. He was afraid that without holding anything back, he would float out of his body, unable to return, becoming a spirit of the ether. Scared, he pulled away from the contact. The new sense vanished, as if he had closed his eyes. He glared suspiciously at the motionless dragon. So he kind of could tell, okay, that whatever that was, that came from this thing. I'm not really sure what all this is about. But a scaly leg brushed up against his leg, and he jerked back automatically, afraid that he was going to have the same sense of electricity running through his body. But nothing happened. After the first initial touch, he was able to touch the dragon, and he started caressing her, or he started caressing the dragon, and it started acting kind of like a cat, and nuzzling up against him, and kind of purring. And as he was sitting there, kind of just admiring this dragon, he got another sense that somebody or something was touching his mind, and this time it was just a overwhelming sense of ravenous hunger, and he realized that this dragon needs to eat, and if I don't feed it, it might be bad, because I don't know if this is a formidable beast or not. So he runs out into the kitchen, and he grabs some meat, some dried strips of meat that that they had drying out on the counter, and he brings it back, and he starts feeding the dragon, and like nothing, this dragon just gobbles up everything that he gives him. And he's sitting there, and he's laying with this dragon on his bed, and he realizes that this is potentially a very dangerous creature, and he doesn't know if he's gonna be able to raise it or take care of it. He definitely can't keep it in the house. There's no way that he can keep a dragon in their farmhouse. It could potentially burn down the home. And just when he thought the dragon was asleep, a low humming came from his vibrating throat. Gently he carried it to the bed and set it on his pillows. The dragon's eyes closed, wrapped its tail around the bedpost, and Eragon lay next to it, flexing his hand in the near darkness. So as he's laying there, he's where he touched the dragon. He's kind of flexing his hand, and he's looking at it, and there's this bright, wide, oval-shaped white spot on his palm from where he touched it. It's kind of almost like a burn, and he's worried that it's gonna. He doesn't know how long it's gonna be there, and he's worried that it's gonna be kind of hard to hide, and he doesn't want his uncle or his cousin to realize that something happened. So he faced a painful dilemma. By raising a dragon, he could become a rider. Myths and stories about riders were treasured, and being one would automatically place him among those legends. However, if the Empire discovered the dragon, he and his family would be put to death unless he joined the king. No one could or would help them. The simplest solution was just to kill the dragon, but the idea was repugnant, and he rejected it. Dragons were too revered for him to even consider that. Besides, what could betray us, he thought. We live in a remote area and have done nothing to draw attention. So he's laying there, and he's kind of going over the pros and cons of what it could be to keep this dragon. And the next morning, before anybody else woke up, he decided that he was going to rush it out of the house. So he grabbed a bunch of strips of meat and some cloth, and he scooped up the dragon, and he went out into the woods before anybody else was awake. And when he goes out there, he finds a tree that's a pretty good bit away from the farm, and he's not really worried about his cousin or his uncle wandering out and finding it. So he decides that he was going to build the dragon a nest, and he doesn't want the dragon to be on the ground, so he builds it up in a tree where it can perch and hopefully be away from the predators that are on the ground. With a few deft movements, he made a noose and slipped it over the dragon's head. And as he's building this, like I said, he puts a noose on the dragon's neck, just kind of like a leash, so that the dragon doesn't run around or leave him while he's there working on this nest. As he's working on it, the dragon's exploring, and he finishes, and he tells the dragon, "It's time to show you your new home," he said, and lifted the dragon up to the branches. It wriggled and tried to get free, then climbed right into the hut, where it ate a piece of meat that Eragon had placed on a pile of straw, and it blinked coyly at him. "You'll be fine as long as you stay here," he instructed the dragon. Sure that it had not understood him, Eragon groped again with his mind until he felt the dragon's consciousness. Again, he had the terrible feeling of openness, of space so large it pressed down on him like a heavy blanket. Summoning his strength, he focused on the dragon and tried to impress on it one idea: stay here. The dragon stopped moving and cocked its head at him. He pushed harder. Stay here. A dim acknowledgement came tentatively through the link, but Eragon wondered if it really understood. After all, it's only an animal. He retreated from the contact with relief and felt the safety of his own mind envelop him. So he's really not liking that feeling of openness and that contact that he shares with his dragon so far. He goes back to his farm, and he attacks his chores. Roran mentions while they're working that he heard some weird random noises throughout the night, and Eragon just kind of like shrugs it off and says, "I didn't hear anything." And they continue to work. As the days go by, he is basically just working as hard as he can, as quickly as he can, to get everything that he needs to get done, so he can go back out and spend more time with this dragon. The day after he brings it to the woods and leaves it for the first day, he goes back home, and that night he can't sleep. He's up dreaming all night about foxes and any kind of animal that could potentially harm or hurt this dragon, and he's worried about it. So with the sunrise the next day, he bolted out of his bed and ran straight for the woods, for the nest where he was keeping the dragon. And luckily enough, the dragon was perched up on a branch watching the sunrise. And when Eragon explored the dragon's home, discovered that there was feathers from what seemed to be a bird that the dragon had caught and killed. As Eragon, when Eragon was excited to see the dragon, he scooped it up and he decided that he was going to go for a walk. And he explained everything that he knew about the forest to this dragon. He didn't understand whether or not the dragon could understand anything that he was saying, but he was just enjoying the company. And the dragon was kind of cocking its head, and it seemed like it was listening. So Eragon just kind of put out a relentless stream of words, talking about everything that he knew about the forest, where the stone came from, and just kind of, like I said, just speaking and trying to bond with this dragon. And the dragon seems to be enjoying it. After the first few days, he stopped worrying that a mishap would befall the dragon. Its growth was explosive. It would soon be safe from most dangers. The dragon doubled in size from its first week. 4 days later, it was as high as his knee. It no longer fit inside the hut of the rowan tree that Eragon had built for it, so he was forced to build a shelter on the ground. The task took him 3 days to do. When the dragon was a fortnight old, Eragon was compelled to let it roam free because it needed so much food. The first time he untied it, only the force of his will kept it from following him back to the farm. Every time he tried, he pushed it away with his mind until it learned to avoid the house and its other inhabitants. So, as the first time Eragon untied it, the dragon wanted to come back to the house with him. He didn't want to be alone. And Eragon had to reach out again with his mind and impose on the dragon that you have to stay here. You can't come back with me. You can't be seen yet. Like I can't have you. I can't have my family know about you yet. I don't want that risk. So the mental contact that he shared with the dragon waxed stronger each day. He found that although it did not comprehend words, he could communicate with it through images or emotions. It was an imprecise method of communication. However, he was often misunderstood. The range at which they could reach each other's minds expanded rapidly. Soon, Eragon could contact the dragon anywhere within 3 leagues. He often did so, and the dragon, in return, would lightly brush against his mind. These mute conversation filled his working hours. There was always a small part of him connected to the dragon, ignored at times, but never forgotten. When he talked with other people, the contact was distracting, like a fly buzzing in his ear. So that's just like the constant stream of our own thoughts that we have, but it's like coming from somebody else. And it's vice versa for the dragon as well. And it's one of the reasons why dragons are so intelligent, is because when they share the mind with a human, they basically are gaining all of the intelligence that human has. So as Eragon is walking around and talking to this dragon and explaining everything, the dragon is learning more and more, and eventually it's going to be as intelligent, if not more intelligent, than Eragon will be. When that month ended, Eragon's elbow was level with the dragon's shoulder. In that brief span, it had transformed from a small, weak animal into a powerful beast. Its hard scales were as tough as chainmail armor, its teeth like daggers. Eragon took long walks in the evening with the dragon padding beside him. When they found a clearing, he would settle against a tree and watch the dragon soar through the air. He loved to see it fly, and regretted that it was not yet big enough to ride. He often sat beside the dragon and rubbed its neck, feeling the sinews and colored muscles flex under his hands. Despite Eragon's efforts, the forest around him and the farm filled with the signs of the dragon's existence. It was impossible to erase the huge four-clawed footprints sunk deep into the snow, and he refused to even try to hide the giant dung heaps that were becoming far too common. So as the dragon is getting older and the time is moving on, again, the signs of there being a dragon in the forest are becoming more and more prevalent. And he's worried because the bigger the dragon gets, the larger the area is that the dragon's going to roam. So the closer it's coming to the farm, and the more likely it is that somebody going into the woods is going to discover something, whether it be a big pile of poop or a tree that's been gouged out from the dragon sharpening its claws up against it. Roran decided one night that he was going to go into town, and because he needed to get a chisel repaired. And Eragon decided that he was going to go with him because he wanted to finally tell Roran and Garrow about the dragon. But before he did that, he wanted to get a little bit more information about dragons, where they came from. He just wanted to get a little bit more background information. In order to get the information that he needs to go see Braum. He needs to go ask him some questions and figure out what all kind of information he can get from him without giving him too much information. And then the evening before they left, Eragon went to a small clearing in the forest and called the dragon with his mind. After a moment, he saw a fast-moving speck in the dusky sky. The dragon dived toward him, pulled up sharply, and then leveled off above the trees. He heard a low-pitched whistle as the air rushed over its wings. It banked slowly to its left and spiraled gently down to the ground. The dragon backflapped for balance with a deep, muffled thwomp as it landed. Eragon opened his mind, still uncomfortable with the strange sensation, and told the dragon that he was leaving. It snorted with unease. He attempted to soothe it with a calm mental picture, but the dragon whipped its tail unsteady. He rested his hand on its shoulder and tried to radiate peace and serenity. Scales bumped his fingers as he patted it gently. A single word rang deep in his mind: Eragon. It was solemn and sad, as if an unbreakable pact were being sealed. He stared at the dragon, and a cold tingle ran down his arm. Eragon. A hard knot formed in his stomach as unfathomable sapphire eyes gazed back at him. For the first time, he did not think of the dragon as an animal. It was something else, something different. He raced home, trying to escape the dragon. My dragon, he thought. And as he was going home, he heard it one more time. He heard it in his mind. He heard Eragon. So clearly, the dragon is getting more and more intelligent. And at the end of this chapter, we see that the dragon is capable of communication. And obviously, the dragon knows that Eragon's name is Eragon. And he wants to get more information. So again, he's going to go with Roran into town the next day as Roran goes to visit Horse to try to get one of their chisels repaired. And this is going to be a really cool chapter. I keep saying that. I feel like every chapter that I come up to, but again, this is everything from here is just we're going to get. It's going to happen so quickly from here. I believe that this next chapter, T for 2, and then Strangers in Carvajal, those 2 chapters are going to be kind of where everything is going to really take off and launch the journey that Eragon is going to go on. I'm very excited to continue to bring this to you guys. Hopefully you continue to enjoy it and continue to watch these videos. If you do, like them please, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.